The explosion shook the ground so hard that Taman nearly dropped his medical kit. Fire lit up the night sky above the outpost, turning everything orange and red. He could hear screaming in 3 different alien languages, but he understood the meaning behind all of them. Fear. Pain. Death was coming. "Medic! We need a medic at the west wall," someone shouted through his radio. Taman ran. His boots pounded against the metal floor of the corridor as alarms blared overhead. He had been a combat medic for 3 years now, stationed on this forgotten frontier world called Ashfall Ridge. Most days were boring. Today was not boring. The Vrix had come. Everyone feared the Vrix. They were insect creatures, massive and violent, with too many legs and eyes that glowed green in the dark. They came in swarms, thousands at a time, and they killed everything in their path. The Coalition had thought this outpost was too small to bother attacking. They were wrong. Taman burst through a door into chaos. The west wall had been breached. Vrik's warriors poured through the gap like angry ants from a kicked nest. Coalition soldiers fired back desperately. Most of them were Drakkar, the dragon people who made up the Coalition's best fighters. The Drakkar were incredible. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in thick scales that could stop bullets. They had wings that could carry them into the sky, and claws that could tear through steel. When they breathed fire, the Vrix burned. But there were so many Vrix. Too many. "Fall back! Everyone fall back to the inner compound," a Drakkar commander roared. Soldiers retreated in organized groups, still firing. Taman helped drag a wounded human soldier to safety, then went back for more. His job was simple. Keep people alive. Get them to safety. Don't think about the danger. That's when he heard it. A sound that didn't fit. It was quiet, almost lost in the noise of battle. A groan. Weak and pained, coming from the collapsed section of the wall. Taman shouldn't have investigated. The smart thing was to retreat with everyone else. But he had never been good at doing the smart thing when someone might be hurt. He climbed over broken concrete and twisted metal, his flashlight cutting through the smoke. "Hello? Anyone there?" Another groan, stronger this time. He followed the sound and found her. The Drakkar warrior was pinned under a massive piece of the collapsed wall. Her silver scales were covered in dust and blood. One wing was bent at a wrong angle, and through her chest, right below where her heart would be, a Vrix spear stuck out like a terrible flag. Taman's breath caught. He knew what that meant. The Vrix coated their weapons with poison. For most species, a scratch was bad. For Drakkar, whose bodies could heal almost anything, the poison was designed to stop their regeneration. A wound like this, with poison, meant death. The warrior's eyes opened. They were bright gold, even in the darkness. She looked at him, and her voice came out rough. "Human. Leave. Save yourself." "Not happening," Taman said, already pulling equipment from his kit. "That's an order, medic." She tried to sound commanding, but she was too weak. "I don't take orders from people who are bleeding out." Taman crawled closer, assessing the damage. It was bad. Worse than bad. The spear had gone through the gap in her chest armor. The one weak spot all Drakkar had. Her blood was dark, purple, almost black. That meant the poison was spreading. "I am Yura of Clan Fireborn," she said, as if her name mattered in this moment. "I command you to leave. I'm Taman, and I don't care about your clan." He pulled out a scanner. 10 minutes, maybe 15. She coughed, and more blood came up. "It doesn't matter. This wound is fatal. Every Drakkar knows this. Good thing I'm not Drakkar then." Taman had studied alien biology for years. The Coalition made all medics learn the basics of every species. But Taman had gone further. He had spent countless nights reading medical journals, studying cases, learning everything he could. People said he was obsessed. He preferred the word thorough. He knew that Vryk's poison worked by attacking the regeneration enzymes in Drakkar blood. He also knew that human antivenom, designed for earth snakes, had a similar chemical structure to the neutralizing agent that could stop it. He had been working on a modified version for months. It was experimental, untested, and it was all he had. "This is going to hurt," he warned. "Everything already hurts," Yura replied. Taman injected the antivenom directly into her chest, around the wound. Then he gripped the spear. On 3. 1. 2. He pulled on 2. Better not to let people tense up. The spear came out with a wet, horrible sound. Purple blood poured from the wound. Yura screamed, a sound that was half roar, half agony. Taman worked fast. He packed the wound with clotting gel. He set up an IV line with synthetic blood. He attached a cardiac monitor to her chest and swore when he saw her heart rhythm. Irregular. Weak. Fading. "Your heart is stopping," he said. "I know." Yura's eyes were closing. "Let me die with honor, human." "No." Taman placed his hands on her chest and started compressions. "With humans, you pushed hard and fast. With Drakkar, whose ribs were fused into a solid chest plate, you had to find the right spot and push even harder." He put all his weight into it, counting in his head. 30 compressions, 2 breaths through the mask, 30 more compressions. The cardiac monitor beeped frantically. Then it flatlined, a steady, terrible tone. Taman grabbed the defibrillator, modified it for Drakkar physiology, and shocked her. Once. Twice. 3 times. On the 4th shock, her heart started again. Weak, but beating. He had no time to celebrate. Explosions sounded closer now. The Vryks were pushing deeper into the outpost. He could hear their clicking, chittering sounds. They would be here soon. Taman set up a portable shelter around them, a thin energy shield that would hide their heat signatures. It wouldn't stop a direct attack, but it might make the Vryks pass them by. Then he went back to work, cleaning the wound, applying synthetic skin, monitoring her vitals every few seconds. An hour passed. Then 2. The battle raged outside their small bubble of light. Several times, Vryks came close. Taman held his pistol in one hand and kept the other on his medical scanner. Twice, he had to shoot at creatures that got too near. He was a terrible shot. But fear made him lucky. Yura's condition stabilized, then worsened, then stabilized again. Taman lost track of time. He just worked, making tiny adjustments, fighting against death one heartbeat at a time. He talked to her, even though she couldn't hear him. "Stay with me, Yura of Clan Fireborn. You don't get to die after I put in all this effort. That would be very rude of you." 4 hours after he found her, coalition reinforcements arrived. The Vryks retreated, vanishing as quickly as they came. Drakkar soldiers spread through the ruined outpost, searching for survivors. A massive Drakkar commander found them. He stared at Yura, still alive against all odds, and then at Taman, covered in purple blood, and barely conscious from exhaustion. "How?" the commander asked. His voice was full of disbelief. "Stubbornness," Taman mumbled. "And chemistry. Mostly stubbornness." The commander looked at Yura, then back at Taman. Something changed in his expression. Surprise became respect. "What is your name, human?" "Taman. Combat medic. Can someone else take over now? I need to sleep. Or die. Either one sounds good." "You saved her life. Do you understand what that means?" "It means I did my job," Taman said. The world was spinning. He needed to sit down. Or fall down. Gravity would decide. "No," the commander said softly. "It means you changed everything." Taman didn't understand. He was too tired to understand. He slumped against the broken wall and closed his eyes. Other medics rushed in to take over Yura's care. Strong hands caught him before he hit the ground. The last thing he heard before unconsciousness took him was the commander speaking into his radio. Inform Clan Fireborn. Yura lives. A human saved her from a death wound. There was a long pause on the other end. Then a response, crackling with static and something else. Shock, maybe. Or awe. Understood. We will send word to the Grand Matriarch. Taman knew none of this would make sense later. But later was a problem for future Taman. Present Taman was done. He let the darkness take him, satisfied that at least one person had survived today. He had no idea that his life had just become infinitely more complicated. Taman woke up in the medical bay with every muscle in his body screaming. His hands were bandaged. His back felt like someone had beaten it with a metal bar. When he tried to sit up, pain shot through his shoulders, and he groaned. "Don't move, you idiot." He turned his head, slowly, and saw Yura sitting in a chair next to his bed. She looked much better than the last time he had seen her. Her scales were clean and shining. The wound in her chest was covered with a thick medical patch, but she was sitting upright and glaring at him with those bright gold eyes. "You're alive," Taman said. His voice came out scratchy. "Yes, thanks to you." She leaned forward. "Why didn't you leave me?" "Because you would have died. I ordered you to leave. I didn't feel like listening." Taman finally managed to sit up, wincing. "How long was I out?" 2 days." Yura stood, and Taman realized again just how big she was. Her head nearly touched the ceiling. "You worked for 4 hours straight in the middle of a battle. Then, you collapsed from exhaustion. The doctors said you were severely dehydrated and had 3 cracked ribs. You also kept fighting even after you were injured." "Why?" Taman shrugged, which hurt. "Someone had to." Yura stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She knelt down, bringing her head level with his. "Taman, human medic, do you understand what you have done? Saved your life?" "Yes. But in Drakkar culture, that means something more." She took a deep breath. "You saved me from a death wound. A wound that every warrior knows is fatal. In doing so, you have bound yourself to my fate. I now owe you a life debt. What we call Shimjeong Bongsa. I must serve you until this debt is repaid." Taman blinked. "What? No. You don't owe me anything." Yura's eyes widened. "You refuse my service?" "I'm not refusing anything. I just don't want you to serve me. That's weird." "Weird?" Yura stood back up. And now, she looked angry. "You think my life is not worth serving for?" "That's not what I said." "Then what are you saying?" Her tail lashed behind her, a sign of agitation. "A life debt is sacred. It is the highest honor a warrior can give. To refuse it is to say that the saved life has no value." Taman rubbed his face. This was too complicated for someone who had just woken up. "Look, I'm sure it's a great honor and everything, but I'm just a medic. I save lives. That's what I do. I don't need people serving me for doing my job. This is not about need. This is about honor. About debt that must be repaid." Yura crossed her arms. "Whether you accept it or not, the debt exists. I will follow you. I will protect you. I will fight beside you. This is the Drakkar way. But no arguments." She sat back down in the chair, as if settling in for a long stay. "I am yours until the debt is repaid." Taman looked at her, at the stubborn set of her jaw, and realized he wasn't going to win this argument. "Fine. But you're not my servant. If you're going to follow me around, you're my partner. Equal. Understood?" Yura tilted her head, considering this. "Partners. That is acceptable. But know this, Taemin. Where I go, my honor goes. And where my honor goes, my clan's attention follows." "What does that mean?" Before Yura could answer, the door to the medical bay opened. A nurse poked her head in. "Medic Taemin, there's a very large Drakkar here to see you. He says he's Yura's brother? Yura sighed. That would be Jiwan. I sent word to my family about what happened. And my brother is overprotective. And skeptical. And probably angry that a human saved me when he was not here to do it himself. She stood up. Try not to insult him. He has a temper. The Drakkar who walked through the door made Yura look small. Jiwan was massive, his scales a darker silver than his sister's, with scars across his arms and face. He wore military armor with commander insignia. When he saw Taemin, his eyes narrowed. This is the human? His voice was deep, like thunder rolling across mountains. Yes, Yura said. This is Taemin. He saved my life. Jiwan walked closer, circling the bed like a predator examining prey. You are small. Weak. How did you save my sister from a death wound? I'm a medic, Taemin said, trying not to show how nervous he was. I know. Biology. Medicine. I had the right tools, and got lucky. Lucky. Jiwan snorted, smoke puffing from his nostrils. My sister is an elite warrior, one of the best in her unit. If she says you saved her, then perhaps it is true, but I do not understand how a human could do what trained Drakkar healers could not. Maybe because I'm human, Taemin said. I think differently. I use different methods. And I don't give up easily. He worked for 4 hours while the battle raged around us, Yura added. He fought off Vryg's attackers while performing surgery. He gave me his own blood when supplies ran out. He refused to leave, even when I ordered him to. Jiwan stopped circling. Is this true? Yes, Yura said firmly. Then I must test him. Jiwan looked at Taemin. Stand up, human. I don't think, Taemin started. Stand up, now. Yura grabbed her brother's arm. Jiwan, no. He is injured. He is not a warrior. If he is to receive your life debt, he must prove he has the strength to carry it. Jiwan pulled his arm free. Stand up, or I will not acknowledge the debt. Taemin slowly got out of bed. His legs shook, his ribs ached, but he stood. What do you want me to do? Fight me. I'm going to lose. I know. But I want to see how you lose. Jiwan walked to the center of the room. Show me this human stubbornness my sister speaks of. The fight, if it could be called that, lasted about 30 seconds. Jiwan moved with surprising speed for someone so large. He grabbed Taemin, lifted him, and threw him to the ground. Taemin gasped as pain exploded through his ribs. Get up, Jiwan said. Taemin got up. Jiwan hit him. A controlled strike that still sent him sprawling. Get up. Taemin got up. His vision was blurry. Blood dripped from his nose. Yura shouted at her brother, but Jiwan ignored her. Again. This time, Taemin tried to dodge. He failed. He hit the ground hard. Get up. His body was screaming at him to stay down. To give up. But something stubborn in Taemin's core refused. He got up. Blood ran down his chin. His legs barely supported him. But he stood. Why do you keep standing? Jiwan asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Because you told me to, Taemin gasped. And because I don't know how to quit. Jiwan stared at him. Then, slowly, he smiled. It was a terrifying expression. All sharp teeth and fierce eyes. Good answer. He turned to Yura. The human has no skill, no strength, no natural weapons. But he has heart. That is enough. He bowed his head to Taemin, a gesture of respect. I acknowledge the life debt. You have earned my sister's service. Then he left, leaving Taemin to collapse back onto the bed. Your brother is terrifying, Taemin muttered. He likes you, Yura said, helping him sit up. If he didn't, you would be dead. Great. That makes me feel so much better. Over the next week, things got strange. Taemin tried to return to his normal duties as a medic, but everywhere he went, Yura followed. She stood outside the medical bay while he worked. She accompanied him to the mess hall for meals. She even stood guard while he slept, which was deeply uncomfortable. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was the other Drakkar. They started treating him differently. Warriors who had barely noticed him before now nodded when he passed. Some even bowed slightly. When he walked through the corridors, conversations stopped. Drakkar warriors watched him with expressions he couldn't read. Then the gifts started arriving. A Drakkar warrior named Hyunwoo delivered a custom-made knife, sized perfectly for human hands. "For the one who saved Yura," he said. Then left, before Taemin could respond. A female Drakkar named Bora brought him a bottle of something that smelled like gasoline mixed with cinnamon. Traditional Drakkar drink. Very good for health. Also, very strong. Maybe dilute with water first. An older Drakkar warrior gave him a piece of armor, light but incredibly strong. "For protection," was all he said. Taemin stood in his quarters, surrounded by gifts, utterly confused. What is happening? Yura, standing guard by his door as always, smiled. "Word has spread about what you did. Drakkar, respect, strength, and honor. You showed both. Now they honor you in return. By giving me things, by acknowledging your worth." She paused. "Also, my mother wants to meet you." "Your mother?" Grand Matriarch Somin, leader of Clan Fireborn. Yura's expression turned serious. "She has sent a formal summons. You are to travel to Drakkari's, our homeworld. Can I refuse?" "Technically, yes. Practically, no. When a Grand Matriarch summons you, you go." Yura grinned. "Don't worry. I'll be with you. What could go wrong?" Taemin looked at the pile of gifts, thought about meeting the leader of an entire dragon clan, and wondered how his simple life as a medic had turned into this. "Everything," he muttered. "Everything could go wrong." The ship descended through clouds that glowed red and orange from the volcanic heat below. Taemin pressed his face against the window, staring at the world that appeared beneath them. Drakkari's was not like Earth. Mountains rose impossibly high, their peaks carved into massive fortresses. Rivers of lava cut through valleys like glowing veins. The sky was filled with Drakkar, hundreds of them, flying between the mountain cities on wings that caught the light. "It's beautiful," Taemin whispered. "It's home," Yura said beside him. She had been quiet during the journey, unusual for her. "Remember, be respectful to my mother. She is old, over 400 years, and she has seen much. Do not lie to her. She can smell lies." "Literally?" "Yes. Drakkar can detect changes in human body chemistry. Lying makes you smell different." "That's terrifying." "That's family." Yura managed a smile. "Also, my younger sister Bora will probably try to adopt you. Do not let her. She collects strange things." The ship landed on a platform carved from the mountain itself. When the doors opened, heat washed over them like a physical wall. Taemin gasped. It was easily 45 degrees. Maybe hotter. Sweat immediately soaked his shirt. "Sorry," Yura said. "We prefer warm climates. There are cooling stations for visitors." Taemin didn't have time to answer. A crowd of Drakkar waited at the landing platform. Dozens of them. Maybe more. They all wore similar markings on their armor, a symbol that looked like a flame with wings. "Clan Fireborn," Yura explained. "They came to meet you. All of them? You saved one of their own. This is important." The crowd parted as they walked through. Taemin felt hundreds of golden eyes watching him. Some, Drakkar nodded. Others simply stared. A few looked skeptical, as if they couldn't believe a human could have done what the story said. At the end of the crowd stood a Drakkar, unlike any Taemin had seen. She was smaller than the warriors, her scales a deep bronze color that seemed to glow with inner fire. Her eyes were ancient, holding centuries of experience. She wore robes instead of armor, decorated with symbols that probably meant something important. "Mother," Yura said, bowing her head, "I present to you Taemin, the human who saved my life." Grand Matriarch Saman looked at Taemin for a long time. Her gaze felt like it could see through him, reading every thought and fear. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but carried across the entire platform. "Approach, human." Taemin walked forward on shaking legs. He had faced down Vrick's warriors with less fear. He stopped a respectful distance away and bowed, the way Yura had taught him during the journey. "Grand Matriarch Saman, thank you for allowing me to visit your home. You are polite. Good." She walked closer, circling him slowly. "You are small, young. You look fragile. Yet my daughter lives because of you. Explain how this is possible." "I'm a medic. I study biology, medicine, how bodies work. When I found Yura, she had a Vrick spear through her chest. The poison was killing her. I had developed an antivenom that I thought might work, so I tried it." "You experimented on my daughter?" There was an edge to her voice now. "I saved your daughter." "The experiment worked." Saman stopped in front of him. Then she laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "Honest. Brave. Perhaps foolish. You did what trained Drakar healers said was impossible. For this, you have my gratitude." She raised her voice so the entire crowd could hear. "Let it be known that Taemin, human medic, has saved the life of Yura of Clan Fireborn. He is owed a debt that can never be fully repaid." The crowd murmured. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked surprised. "But more than this," Saman continued. "He has done what our ancient laws speak of. He saved one of our blood from certain death, from a wound that fate itself had marked as final. By our oldest traditions, this makes him Kaji-il, flame kin. He is now and forever part of Clan Fireborn." The murmuring turned into outright talking. Taemin looked at Yura, confused. She looked shocked. "Mother," Yura said carefully, "the Kaji-il ritual has not been performed in over a century. Are you certain? The law is clear. One who saves a clan member from destined death becomes Kaji-il. The human has earned this, whether he understands it or not." Saman looked back at Taemin. "Do you accept this honor?" Taemin had no idea what he was accepting, but something in Saman's eyes told him this was important. Very important. "I accept. Then it is done." Saman placed her hand on his shoulder. Her palm was hot, almost burning through his shirt. "Welcome to Clan Fireborn, Taemin. You are our kin now. What harms you harms us all. What honors you honors us all. You will be protected, respected, and expected to uphold our ways." The crowd erupted in a roar that shook the platform. Drakar wings beat the air in salute. Someone breathed fire into the sky, and others joined until the air was filled with flames. Taemin stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. He had come here thinking he would meet Yura's mother, maybe have dinner, then go back to his normal life. Instead, he had just been adopted by an entire clan of dragon warriors. Yura leaned close. "Congratulations, you're family now." "What does that mean exactly?" "It means everything just got very complicated." The next few days proved Yura right. Being Kaji-il, Taemin learned, came with expectations. Many expectations. First, there was Bora, Yura's younger sister. She was smaller than Yura, but somehow more energetic. She appointed herself as Taemin's guide and proceeded to drag him to every location in the clan fortress. This is the training ground where warriors learn to fly. This is the forge where we make weapons. This is the hall of ancestors where we remember the dead. This is the kitchen where we prepare food. You must try everything, especially the spicy meat. It's traditional. The spicy meat nearly killed him. Taemin spent an hour breathing fire, metaphorically, while Bora laughed. "Your face is so red. Do humans always react this way? When you feed them molten lava?" "Yes." Taemin gasped, drinking water that didn't help. Then there was Hyun-woo, a cousin who worked as a weaponsmith. He insisted on making Taemin custom armor. "You are Kaji-il now. You must look the part. What colors do you prefer? What style? Do you want a helmet with horns? Horns are very popular. I don't need horns. Everyone needs horns. I will make you horns. There was Donghae, Yura's uncle, who wanted to teach Taemin traditional Drakkar combat techniques. You are too slow. Too weak. But we can work with this. First, you learn to fall properly. Then you learn to get hit properly. Then, maybe, you learn to hit back. Taemin spent 3 days learning how to fall and get hit. He gained many bruises. He did not learn to hit back. There was Mirai, an elderly aunt who kept trying to feed him. You are too thin. Humans need more meat, more heat, more spice. Eat. Eat. I'm really full. Nonsense. Have more. Everyone wanted to talk to him, ask him questions, hear the story of how he saved Yura. Some asked repeatedly, wanting every detail. Children followed him around, fascinated by the small human who was now part of their clan. Warriors asked for medical advice. Elders wanted to know about Earth and human culture. It was overwhelming, exhausting, and strangely wonderful. For the first time in his life, Taemin felt like he belonged somewhere. Not as a medic, not as a useful tool, but as a person, as family. But not everyone was happy about it. On his 5th day on Dracarys, Taemin learned that his presence had caused political problems. A messenger arrived while he was trying to escape Mirai's kitchen. Taemin of Clan Fireborn, you are summoned to the council hall. Commander Jin-Soo of Clan Emberfang wishes to speak with you. Yura, who had been watching Taemin slowly die from overeating, immediately stood. That is acceptable. The council hall was a massive chamber carved from black stone. Representatives from various Drakkar clans sat in curved rows, watching as Taemin entered. At the center stood a Drakkar warrior with dark red scales and cold eyes. Commander. Jin-Soo. So this is the human who claims to be Kaji-il, Jin-Soo said, his voice dripping with contempt. I didn't claim anything. Your Grand Matriarch declared it. Grand Matriarch Somin is old. Perhaps her judgment is clouded by sentiment. Jin-Soo walked closer. The title of Kaji-il is sacred. It has been given to warriors, heroes, those who have proven themselves through great deeds. Now it is given to a human who did his job? This diminishes us all. He saved my life, Yura said angrily. That is a great deed. He is a medic. Saving lives is what medics do. Should we make every doctor Kaji-il? Jin-Soo looked at the council. Humans are weak, fragile, short-lived. They do not belong in our clans, carrying our honors. This decision is a mistake. Murmurs spread through the council. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Grand Matriarch Somin stood. You challenge my decision, Jin-Soo. I challenge the wisdom of naming a human as Flamekin. If this human truly deserves the title, let him prove it. Let him undergo the Yongmeng Ui, the dragon's trial. If he survives, I will accept him. If he fails, Jin-Soo smiled coldly, then we will know. He was never worthy. The room fell silent. Taemin looked at Yura. What's the dragon's trial? Yura's face had gone pale. It's a test for young warriors. 3 challenges that prove courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. It's dangerous. Very dangerous. People die during the trials. And if I refuse, then Jin-Soo will claim you're afraid. That you don't deserve to be Kaji-il. It will bring shame to Clan Fireborn. Taemin looked at Somin. The ancient Grand Matriarch watched him carefully. Then he looked at the council. At all the faces watching him. Some hopeful. Some skeptical. Some clearly wanting him to fail. He thought about the past week. About Bora's enthusiasm, Hyunwoo's friendship, Donghae's patient teaching, Mirai's determined feeding, about how they had welcomed him, not as an outsider, but as family. He thought about Yura, who had followed him faithfully since he saved her life. Then he thought about himself, about the fact that for the first time in his life, He had found somewhere he belonged. "I'll do it," Taman said. "I'll take the dragon's trial." The volcanic nests sat at the base of Mount Karhim, where the earth itself breathed fire. Heat shimmered in waves above black stone. Rivers of lava cut through the landscape like glowing scars. The air smelled of sulfur and smoke. This was where the drakes lived. Taman stood at the entrance to the nesting grounds, sweating through his clothes, despite the cooling vest Hyunwoo had made for him. Behind him, a crowd of Drakkar had gathered to watch the trial. Clan Fireborn stood on one side, looking worried. Clan Emberfang stood on the other, looking eager to see him fail. Yura stood closest, her face tight with concern. "You don't have to do this. We can leave. Go back to the outpost. No one would blame you." "Yes, they would," Taman said quietly. "And I would blame myself." Grand Matriarch Somin stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "The first trial tests courage. Taman must enter the volcanic nests and retrieve a scale from a wild drake. He may use any method, any tool, but he must survive and return with proof of his success." Commander Jinsu smiled. "Most Drakkar face the drakes with natural armor and fire breath. The human has neither. This should be educational." "Shut up, Jinsu." Yura snapped. Somin raised her hand for silence. Taman picked up his pack and walked toward the nests. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. He had researched drakes during the 3 days he had to prepare. They were massive, non-sentient creatures, distant relatives of the Drakkar. They had all the physical power of their intelligent cousins, but none of the control. They were pure instinct and aggression. A fair fight against a drake would last about 5 seconds, ending with Taman as a snack. So Taman had no intention of fighting fair. The nesting ground was a maze of black stone and smoking vents. Heat pressed down on him like a weight. He moved slowly, carefully, watching for movement. His scanner showed multiple heat signatures ahead. Large ones, drake-sized. He found the first nest after 20 minutes of careful searching. A massive drake lay coiled around a clutch of eggs, each egg the size of Taman's torso. The drake's scales were black and red, glowing faintly from internal heat. Steam rose from its nostrils as it breathed. Taman crouched behind a rock formation, studying the creature. Fighting it was suicide. Sneaking past it while it was awake was also suicide. He needed a different approach. He pulled out his medical scanner and examined the drake from a distance. Body temperature elevated, heart rate slow, breathing pattern consistent with light sleep. And there, near the edge of the nest, several scales that had been shed during molting. Perfect. Taman set up smoke grenades at strategic points around the area. Then he pulled out a small device that emitted a high-frequency sound. One that should be just annoying enough to make the drake move without fully waking it. He pressed the button. The drake stirred, grumbling. It shifted position, moving away from the annoying sound, circling its eggs. As it moved, Taman triggered the smoke grenades. Thick, gray smoke filled the area, masking his heat signature. He moved quickly, sliding down into the nest area, while the drake was distracted. His hand closed around one of the shed scales. It was hot enough to burn, but he had gloves rated for extreme temperatures. He grabbed the scale, secured it in his pack, and retreated before the smoke cleared. The drake never knew he was there. Taman emerged from the nesting grounds 30 minutes later, sweating and shaking but alive. He held up the scale. The crowd stared in silence. Commander Jinsu spoke first. "He didn't fight the drake. He stole a molted scale. That's cheating. The rules stated he must retrieve a scale using any method." Somin said calmly. He succeeded. The trial did not require combat. Why? It required courage. It required intelligence, Yura said, grinning fiercely. Something you clearly don't value. Somin nodded. The first trial is complete. Taman has passed. Clan Fireborn erupted in cheers. Bora rushed forward and hugged Taman, lifting him off the ground despite being told repeatedly that humans were fragile. You did it. You're so clever. Wait until I tell everyone. Can't breathe, Taman gasped. She put him down, still grinning. Sorry. Forgot you're breakable. The second trial took place in the Hall of Ancestors, a vast chamber filled with carved stone tablets recording Drakkar history. The walls were covered with names, deeds, and symbols dating back thousands of years. Grand Matriarch Saman stood before an ancient tablet covered in complex writing. The second trial tests wisdom. You must solve the riddle of flames, a question that has challenged Drakkar minds for generations. Speak your answer aloud, and the council will judge its worth. She read from the tablet. A warrior stands at a bridge. Behind him, his clan is dying of cold and hunger. Ahead, an enemy clan has food and fire, but they will not share. The warrior can fight and take what his clan needs, but many will die in the battle. He can beg and shame himself, but his clan's honor will be tarnished. He can retreat and preserve honor, but his clan will perish. What should the warrior do? Taman listened carefully. He understood what the riddle was really asking. It was about choosing between honor and survival, about what mattered most when everything was at stake. Around him, Drakkar murmured, discussing traditional answers. He heard suggestions about noble sacrifice, about glorious battle, about maintaining pride, even in death. But Taman was human. He didn't think like a Drakkar. The warrior should build his own fire, Taman said. Silence fell over the hall. Explain, Saman said. The riddle assumes only 3 choices because it assumes the warrior must interact with the enemy clan. Fight them, beg from them, or ignore them. But there's a 4th option. The warrior uses the skills and resources his own clan has. They build fire. They hunt or gather food. It will be harder, take longer, require more effort, but the clan survives without losing honor and without unnecessary death. Sometimes, the best solution isn't choosing between bad options. It's creating a new option. The hall remained silent. Taman couldn't tell if he had said something brilliant or something incredibly stupid. Commander Jinsu spoke. That answer ignores the premise of the riddle. What if there is no way to build fire? No food to hunt? Then the riddle is impossible. And the real question is why the warrior let his clan get into a situation with no good options. Taman met Jinsu's glare. Good leaders prevent their people from having to make those choices. More silence. Then Grand Matriarch Soman began to laugh. It was a deep, genuine sound. In 400 years, I have never heard that answer. It challenges the very foundation of the question. Well done, human. You think differently than we do. Perhaps that is valuable. She looked at the council. I judge his answer acceptable. The second trial is complete. This time, even some of Clan Emberfang looked impressed. Not Jinsu, though. He looked angry. The third trial came at sunset. The entire clan gathered at the sacred temple, a structure carved from a single piece of volcanic glass. Inside, a path of coals stretched from the entrance to the altar, glowing red-hot. Grand Matriarch Somin held a ceremonial torch. The third trial tests sacrifice. You must walk the fire walk, carrying this sacred torch to the altar without dropping it. The flames are heated by dragon fire. For Drakkar, this is painful but survivable. For a human. She didn't finish the sentence. Yura grabbed Taman's arm. Don't do this. This trial will kill you. Your skin can't handle that heat. I know. Taman looked at the glowing path. Even from here, he could feel the heat radiating from it. Walking across would be agony. He would suffer burns that might never fully heal. But refusing now would undo everything. You don't. You've already proven yourself. Everyone can see that. Not everyone. Taman looked at Jinsu, who watched with cold satisfaction. Some people will always doubt. Always question. I need to do this, Yura. Not for them. For me. Yura's eyes were wet. I never asked you to suffer for me. I know. But I'm asking you to let me. Taman smiled, trying to be brave. Besides, you followed me around for weeks, standing guard while I slept. Let me do something difficult for you. He walked to the start of the path before he could change his mind. Saman handed him the torch. It was heavier than he expected. You may begin. Taman took the first step onto the coals. Pain exploded through his foot, immediate and terrible. He gasped, nearly dropping the torch. The heat was worse than anything he had imagined. It felt like his foot was being melted. He took another step. Then another. Each step was worse than the last. The smell of burning flesh filled his nostrils. His vision blurred from tears. The torch shook in his hands. Halfway across, his legs gave out. He fell to his knees on the burning coals. The pain was so intense that he couldn't scream. He couldn't breathe. Everything was fire. He heard Yura shout his name. Heard other voices, arguing. Taman looked up. The altar was still so far away. Too far. He couldn't stand. His legs wouldn't work. His hands were shaking so badly, he could barely hold the torch. But he could crawl, so he did. He pulled himself forward, inch by burning inch. His palms blistered. His knees charred. Blood mixed with ash beneath him. But he didn't drop the torch. He held it high, keeping the flame alive even as his own body burned. The crowd watched in absolute silence. Even Jinsu had stopped smiling. It took forever. It took seconds. Time meant nothing in the fire. There was only pain, and the next movement forward, and the torch that he refused to drop. His hand touched stone. Cool stone. He had reached the altar. With the last of his strength, Taman lifted the torch and placed it in the holder. The flame caught, burning bright and holy. Then darkness took him. He woke in the medical bay again. Soft sheets. Beeping machines. The smell of antiseptic. He tried to move, and immediately regretted it. Pain flared through his feet. His legs. His hands. Don't move, Yura's voice. She sat beside his bed, like always. But this time, her face was different. There were tear tracks on her scales. You stupid, brave, ridiculous human. Did I pass? His voice came out as a whisper. You passed. She took his hand carefully, avoiding the bandages. Everyone saw what you did. How far you pushed yourself. Jinsu himself acknowledged your worth. You are Kaji Il, beyond any doubt now. Good. Taman closed his eyes. That's good. Your feet are badly burned. The healers say you'll bear scars for the rest of your life. Scars are fine. Scars mean I survived. Why did you do it? Yura asked softly. You could have died, because you gave me something I never had before. A family. A place to belong. Taman opened his eyes, looking at her. That was worth fighting for. Worth suffering for. Yura was quiet for a long moment. Then she rested her head gently against his arm. You are the strangest human I have ever met. And the bravest. I am honored to call you brother. Sister, Taman said, and smiled despite the pain. I'm honored too. 3 months after the firewalk, Taman stood on the balcony of Clan Fireborn's fortress, looking out over the mountains of Dracarys. His feet still hurt sometimes, especially when the weather changed. The scars would never fully fade, but he could walk. He could run when needed. The healers had done good work. You're thinking too much again, Yura said, landing beside him with a powerful beat of her wings. I can smell it. Can you actually smell thinking? Or is that just something you say? Both. She grinned, showing her fangs. Taman followed her through the fortress. Over the past months, he had learned the paths and passages, knew which turns led where. This place felt like home now. The heat no longer bothered him. The smell of sulfur was familiar. The sound of dragon wings overhead was comforting. Grand Matriarch Saman waited in her chamber, along with several other clan elders. She gestured for Taman to sit. "We have received word from the coalition military. The Vrick swarm is mobilizing again. They are gathering forces for a major attack on Drakkar territories." "How major?" Taman asked. "Very. Intelligence suggests millions of Vrick's warriors. Possibly more. They seek revenge for their previous defeats." Sawman's expression was serious. "The coalition is forming a joint defense force. They have requested that Clan Fireborn send warriors, and they have specifically asked for you." "Me? I'm just a medic. You are Kaji Il of Clan Fireborn. You are a symbol of cooperation between humans and Drakkar. Your presence would mean much to both species." She leaned forward. "I will not order you to go. This is your choice. But know that if you go, Yura will lead the Drakkar warriors, and you will lead the human medical teams. You would work together." Taman thought about the outpost on Ashfall Ridge, about the soldiers he had served with, about the humans who still saw him as one of them, even though he now bore Drakkar scars and clan markings. About the bridge, he could be between two species. "I'll go," he said. "I knew you would," Yura said, sounding satisfied. "We leave in 2 days." The journey to the battle site took a week. The coalition had chosen to make their stand on a colony world called Refuge, a planet of open plains and scattered settlements. It was defensible and important enough that losing it would be a major blow. When their ship landed, Taman found himself in command of a medical unit of 30 humans, all trained combat medics. They looked at him with a mixture of respect and confusion. He was one of them, but he wore Drakkar armor and had clan markings tattooed on his arms. "Listen up," Taman said to his team. "I know I look different now. I know some of you heard stories about me. But here's what matters. We're going to work alongside Drakkar healers. We're going to save lives, human and Drakkar both. We don't let anyone die if we can help it. Understood?" "Be understood." "Yes, sir," they answered in unison. Yura commanded 200 Drakkar warriors, a full battalion. She walked among them with confidence, giving orders, preparing them for battle. When she saw Taman, she nodded. "Ready? As ready as I'll ever be." "Good, because they're here." The sky darkened. Not with clouds, but with Vricks. Millions of them. Their wings blocking out the sun. They descended like a living storm, chittering and clicking, their green eyes glowing with hunger. The battle began. It was chaos. Vryk's warriors crashed into coalition lines like a wave hitting a cliff. Drakkar breathed fire, incinerating hundreds at a time. Human soldiers fired their weapons until the barrels glowed hot. Auntie. The air filled with smoke and screams and the terrible sounds of war. Taman's medical station was set up behind the lines, protected by energy shields and guard units. Wounded soldiers poured in, carried by their comrades or dragging themselves. Human, Drakkar, even a few other alien species from the coalition. "We need more plasma!" One medic shouted. Drakkar warrior with a crushed wing. Human soldier, gut wound, critical. Taman moved between patients, assessing, prioritizing, treating. His hands worked automatically, years of training taking over. He stitched wounds, set bones, stopped bleeding. He injected medications, monitored vitals, called for help when needed, but it wasn't enough. The wounded kept coming, more and more. Too many. His team was overwhelmed. That's when he noticed the problem. The human medics and Drakkar healers were working separately. They used different techniques, different equipment, different priorities. They were duplicating effort and wasting time. "Stop," Taman shouted. Everyone paused, looking at him. "We need to work together. Human medics, you're good at precision work, surgery, internal injuries. Drakkar healers, you're good at regeneration therapy, burn treatment, broken bones. We combine our strengths." A Drakkar healer, an older male named Quan, nodded. "You suggest we share patients?" I suggest we treat them together. Your regeneration gel works wonders on human tissue too. Our surgical techniques can help Drakkar with complex internal damage. We teach each other. Live and die. We helped. For a moment, Taman thought they would refuse. The two species had always kept their medical practices separate. But then, Quan stepped forward. Show me this surgical technique you speak of. They worked. Human and Drakkar, side by side, learning from each other. Taman demonstrated how human microsurgery could repair damaged Drakkar organs. Quan showed how regeneration therapy could speed human healing dramatically. The medical station transformed from chaos into a coordinated system. Wounded soldiers stopped dying. Recovery rates improved. Word spread through the battlefield. The medical station behind the lines was saving everyone. On the third day of battle, a runner found Taman. Sir, Yura's battalion is pinned down. She's wounded. They need medical support immediately. Taman grabbed his field kit. I'm going. Sir, that's the front line. It's too dangerous. She's my sister. I'm going. He ran through the battlefield, dodging explosions and Vrix attacks. 2 Drakkar warriors provided escort, burning anything that got too close. They found Yura's battalion surrounded, fighting desperately against overwhelming numbers. Yura was still fighting despite the Vrix spear lodged in her shoulder. Blood ran down her armor. She roared defiance, breathing fire at her enemies even as she weakened. Yura! Taman shouted. She turned, her eyes widening. Taman? What are you doing here? Saving your life, again. He slid to a stop beside her, already assessing the wound. You need to stop getting stabbed. I'll try to remember that. Taman worked while the battle raged around them. He pulled the spear free, packed the wound, injected clotting agents. Drakkar warriors formed a protective circle, refusing to let the Vrix through. They knew what Taman was. He was Kaji-il. He was family. They would die before they let him be harmed. Done, Taman said. You'll live. But you need to fall back. I don't retreat. You do if I say you do. Now move. Yura laughed, even though it clearly hurt. When did you become so bossy? When I became your brother. Now come on. They retreated together, the Drakkar battalion protecting them. Taman got Yura back to the medical station and made sure she was properly treated. Then he went back to work, treating more wounded, teaching more techniques, building bridges between species with every patient saved. The battle lasted 5 days. When it finally ended, the Vrix retreated, their forces broken. The coalition had held. Refuge was saved. The cost was high. Thousands dead. Tens of thousands wounded. But the medical teams had saved more than ever before. The combination of human and Drakkar medical knowledge had created something new, something better. After the battle, the coalition held a ceremony. They awarded medals and honors to those who had distinguished themselves. Taman was given the Star of Unity, an honor for those who bridged species divides, but the ceremony that mattered more came later, back on Drakkaris. Clan Fireborn gathered in the Hall of Ancestors. Grand Matriarch Soman stood before the ancient tablets, holding a carving tool. Taman, human medic, Kaji-il of Clan Fireborn. You have proven yourself in trials. You have bled for this clan. You have fought for this clan. You have brought honor to this clan. She began carving into the stone. Today, we add your name to the clan records, not as honorary family, but as true family. You are Bul-Ui Hyungjae, brother of flame, permanent and eternal. She carved his name into the stone beside Yura's. Taman watched as his human name was written in Drakkar symbols, preserved forever in the clan history. The clan roared their approval. Bora hugged him so hard his ribs creaked. Hyunwoo clapped him on the back. Donghae nodded with pride. Mireille tried to feed him celebratory food. Even Jiwon, stern and serious, smiled. That night, Taman stood on the balcony again, looking at the stars. Yura joined him. Her shoulder properly bandaged now. Do you regret it? she asked. Coming here? Joining us? Your life was simpler before. Taman touched the scars on his feet. Then he looked at the clan markings on his arms. Then he looked at the fortress around him, filled with family. Not for a second. Good, because you're stuck with us now. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Below them, Clan Fireborn celebrated. Music played. Dragons flew through the night sky. Fire lit up the darkness in beautiful patterns. Taman had come to this world as an outsider, a human among dragons. He had saved one life, and somehow gained a family. He had passed trials designed for warriors, even though he was just a medic. He had walked through fire and earned scars that would never fade. But more than that, he had found belonging. Not because someone decided he was useful, but because they decided he was family. And family was forever. Hey, Taman, Yura said. Yeah? Thank you. For saving my life that day. Thank you for giving me a reason to. They stood together in comfortable silence, human and Drakkar, brother and sister, watching the stars above their shared home. Somewhere in the fortress, someone called Taman's name. Someone needed him. Someone always needed him. But that was okay. He belonged here. He had a place. He had purpose. He had family. And for Taman, that made all the pain, all the trials, all the burns and scars worth it. He had found something rare in the galaxy. He had found home. The end.